Well, glad you asked in that case.
That's okay.
No worries. There's a couple of hatches that need to be taken care of, so sometimes the bans are around that. Think of Hibana, think of a Maverick. With that, heart breaching becomes a little bit more difficult, but that leaves the Thatcher open. And if you leave that Thatcher open, it is going to be, well, quite easy to open up the remaining sites. And as we see the Maverick to be the first ban, it's up to DWG Gaming Kia. DWG Kia to decide what the second attacking ban will be. So it's going to be a Thatcher or it's going to be any other operator on the heart breach. It's Hibana. There you have it. I literally just said it. Maverick Hibana will be making sure that the bottom floor is going to be, well, harder to attack, really. Especially if Cade is allowed to be alive and left on the board. Could also just be that DWG Kia will be banning that one out straight away, or Talon will follow up with it. Mira seems to be the first ban for now.
You know, you're sort of playing club on that solidity of Clubhouse. Clubhouse is well orchestrated, well known. I know it's always been that sort of discussion of other plays that we're seeing, you know, when we had the very start of the day and we talked about the operator pick rates and ban rates of at points APAC sort of sometimes a step behind in some aspects of the game because obviously over the lockdown it became quite tough for them to scrim outside of their region without the chance of international play. And the ban rate sort of backed that together, but Club is eternal. Club is, if anything, the only recent change we've seen is that people have gotten sharper at attacking CC, but apart from that, it's still very much its pace.
Definitely so. And now, as I said, we see the Cade ban coming in, the Thatcher will be brought out, and so will the Ace and the Thermite. The thing is, however, you only have one Selma left if you open up all 3 hatches into that bottom floor. So is that really something you want to go for as DWG Kia? Or do you want to go for a more one-dimensional approach? You open up the kitchen hatch just to put some extra pressure, give them the ID. You could be going for a bit of a rotate. You could be opening up the motorcycle hatch as well. Not even has to be necessary because it seems like we are in the extended roam, and that means that the castle will probably open up on that hatch sooner rather than later, just to make sure that there is that opportunity to fall back into safety. May the need be there.
10 seconds left.
I think with this sort of extended thing, it was one of the comments we had about Talon previously in their previous game against T1 on Oregon, sure, was they were very good at striking around the backside. They were very good at sort of taking a bit of the aggression on the roam and moving a manipulating club. It's not as easy, I think, to do that in some regards, in that it's very well known, and also against DK, a team that is very well established at great control of those sort of plays.
Definitely so. Nazi ready to go for the run out here. Will be doing so with the impact. Gets 1 kill. As the sledge off the board. Catsank picked up very early on here. Talon able to get the entry. He's going to be very helpful for the remainder of this round, especially with well, the amount of moves we know DWG Kia can make every now and then. And they're going to drone out now. They're going to try and figure out if he's still inside a strip, if he's still around there, if he has dug himself in deeper, maybe. As he, of course, will be falling back, staying active around the main stairs, hoping to provide some cover to the members up on that top floor. And as Ren is taking a lot of damage himself as well, this Talon that for now is holding very tight.
I like how I was like, oh, they're good on the roam and they might be able to strike and hold it off. And, well, we see Talon get another one. So maybe they are very good on the roam, but maybe DK aren't quite as adept at stopping it as I gave them a little bit of credit for. They found themselves in the middle of it, as you're supposed to, but without the pressure that's coming from the other side. And with this man disadvantage, you become very cornered suddenly. We've got Yas all the way on the opposite split, looking and making their way from Jacuzzi and across Gym. So they're still very isolated here, and there's a swing onto 1, almost finds 2. Canos takes a huge amount of damage, but look at Tomorrow coming around from the back side of the stairs. They know that the pressure is going to come through. Here it is. And now it is just Yas, who I said was on the other side here. Talon have absolutely dismantled this attack on its approach.
Yeah, definitely so, but you also keep in mind that the bottom floor will be the hardest to attack in any given situation with the way that the current bans have gone, and with that, the true challenge will be coming down to CCTV and the gym bedroom, of course, to see whether or not DWG Gaming Kia is going to be having as much trouble with that as they were having with approaching the site here. We'll be able to... Oh, no, because he already used one of the Selmas up on the top floor in Jacuzzi. That means he didn't have to left to open up that hatch. And this will have to go for a bit of a different approach. And back to the main stairs, that means checking if there's any Valkyrie cams, checking on him. Seems like they are very well aware. A hat gets spotted out. In the meantime, a flank from above seems to be imminent as well. As it is tomorrow, looking to strike.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Talon, it's not that they're toying with their food. They're just sort of saying, you know, we can lock this off. We can just try and exit, leave this. Yas is still pointing and probing. They wanted to find a body or two to leave with, and they get at least one. They're going to go potentially for an aggressive drop here, but with the diffuser isolated anyway, this is never going to really swing their way. Puts a bit more pressure back towards stock to see if they can find that body that is otherwise there, but no! No dice, no end, and a bit of a rough start for DAMWON Kia.
A bit of a rough start indeed. But as I said, the bottom floor is not the one you're expected to win, considering how the bands went. With this, you are going to be going up to gym bedroom now. This should be a bit of an easier site to take, and especially if there's no castle that will be on the board. Should be able to quickly isolate the bandit who might be trying to keep the wall closed, the jacuzzi wall that is. So you get 6-picked out to the Valkyrie. There is opportunity for a Flores to be brought. And Katsing does go for a 6-pick, but it's going to be the Capitao instead. Of course, Mute was on the board before. You might not expect a 6-pick out of that operator.
Defenders, protect your
But for now, we stay relatively similar. Of course, no Cade on the board, which made it so they could actually try and breach those hatches. Just the issue you have is that is all you can really do in that case. You do not have any hard breach available on that bottom floor to try and breach something else. Now we're going up to the top floor here. We still have a double hard breach setup, and now you're thinking, all right, what do they need to open? Well, often CCTV is going to be reinforced. Sometimes on the outside wall where Labyrinth is currently moving himself to. That's one exothermic or one Selma. Then you also want to put some pressure into Cash. That's 2 exothermics or Selmas. You also have the jacuzzi wall to open up, which makes 3. And then sometimes, of course, you need to get into the bathroom. 4. And then if you want to get construction walls, well, is 5. That will be just enough. So if you want to use all that hard breach, there is definitely the opportunity to do so effectively, whilst also creating all of that. That is very sloppy. He got the wrong side. That is very unlucky.
But only just. Did you see where it was placed?
It's literally close to the middle.
Yeah, you know, I can see why he went with the audio there as sort of one of those risky moments. He was able to at least stop it becoming a big rotation. They now have an angle that they can try and loop things through, but so do Talon. Talon can apply some pressure back here, and obviously you're looking at the limitations of no frag grenades in the pockets of the approach, but a lot of claymores. They're quite concerned about the Talon roam that was pretty big before, and they're going to make sure that they don't suffer it again. They're really trying to cement themselves on the backside, I guess, in terms of the range deployables, if they do want to try and burn their way through to make room for Zafir. They have Capitao with all of his many bolts and braces and ways to remove any potential ADSs or anything that can stop it, but here is that Thatcher. He's still on the board. You don't have to burn to get through here, and they're going to go for this pressure onto Jacuzzi.
Now, it wasn't necessary to toss in the EMP, but better be safe than sorry. And as the opening into Jacuzzi is there. Still, a bunch of hard breach gadgets left. They are trying to potentially collapse onto that bathroom. A lot of utilities being tossed in right now.
Yeah, Zeus was going for a little bit of a roam on the far side, potentially going to run out of strip and see if he can catch somebody that's on the balcony, but I think he's quickly realized that he needs to make sure he's underneath. If they go for something hot, heavy, and quick, and they try and get themselves in, and as it feels like they're posturing too, the C4 over the top doesn't quite catch. I think it just got shot out, and everything's being pushed and pressured there. Oh yeah, EMP'd on the top, caught out, unfortunately, and that forces Labyrinth into a very tricky situation. Now, they pull back. They still have some explosives, but they've been forced entirely out of their own sight.
Tomorrow is close to spotting out the player on the roof. Spots one repelling up, however, doesn't quite manage to get the kill down. Katsang up to 1 HP, knew around of the position where it was coming from. Will be taking care of the Black Eye, but the flank comes in from side the CCTV. Canis picks up that kill. That is yet another defensive opening here, and they might be able to continue that for now, because there is a lot of pressure now on Talon. Talon were allowed to rotate around and set themselves up for the push that is about to happen, and as they start running, they need to be careful to not step into the... Okay, I was going to say, there was a frost map, but it probably got destroyed.
Soldier has the angle on the door, but Woogieman is the next to go down in the firefight as Canos doubles up and locks him over. There's finally something in DK's favor on this round, and Coated has a little bit of time to go for the plant rin. Looked away at the last second on the first fight, lost it on the second. There is a swing up, but there is a very quick putting back down. Talon secure themselves the second round, and DK are struggling to kind of keep an eye and an idea on just where Talon are.
Definitely so, as you have to slow pan up to look into them in Lucy's face. We indeed see them struggling. They managed to open up quite quickly. I'm not quite sure what the plan was with CCTV wall, where they just tossed in a sum and nothing really happened. Nothing came from it. Just seems like a bit of throwaway utility in that case. Might keep some players active around that area. Might let them think that a push could be coming in. Of course, was not the case. And Talon, 2-0. Going over to CCTV cache. That is the tertiary side. For them, that is strange to see very often. It is gym bedroom, or in rare occasions, it is that bottom floor. Normally, CCTV cache gets played before, but probably due to the current bans that we have, you know, Thatcher available, Thermite and Ace, it is going to be a little bit more difficult to hold on to now, because everything that they want to open up on the side of DWG Gaming will be opened up, because that's the game. There is no holding back on that. You might be able to use an impact, something we saw before as well. Put the mirror window on that wall, open it up, and make sure you can impact them so they wouldn't be able to open up. It's a counter to the Thatcher. Of course, the Thatcher will be taking care of any bandit batteries that will be placed down. They can just go for a double breach at the same time. There's nothing you can do in that case. So it's just an opportunity they could go for. Of course, they don't, because it opens a giant gap into the side as well.
Which is never good.
Really want to give. No.
It's the easiest way of putting it. Soldier has already looked to put the cameras out in a similar place. Obviously, that was found and dropped a little bit later on. Doubles down to make sure they have eyes on the prize outside. Aziz is far away, and he maybe just heard a rappel. He wants to hop out this window, and we've seen trouble caused on this very location before, and it becomes something where it's growing in how common the push is here. They've still got to get a lot left done. They've still got to try and find their way through this opener here. With the Thatcher on the board, it's going to be a play against that bandit to see if they can try and force them into a situation where they at least utilize and burn some of those, and they've still sort of approached and gone here without any grenades on their side.
Where is the ace to try and help? That would be so much more helpful, because now you give him an opportunity to actually go for the bandit trick. He probably has the wrong wall, and that means it will be opened up the left-hand side, or the one closest to the actual mezzanines. That gives them now opportunity as well to try and push towards the garage, because that is going to be step 2. If you get garage control, there is, however, a clash in the Valkyrie around there. You should be able to make this quite successful. The Monty, however, will be providing a little bit of cover, will be providing a lot of information as well. And that must be coming in big time here for DWG Gaming.
Yeah, the Clash and the Monty were both 6th picks, and there are reveals that sort of counter against each other. It means Garage, which could have been a quick fight, has suddenly become very slow, very arduous. They're going to have to try and dig their way in, and again, without any frag grenades, without anything that can try and get something aggressive against that Clash without them having to entirely throw themselves in, entirely stretch in. Obviously, the Jaeger was the 6th pick. They didn't know that there was going to be anything to burn, but you still go in with that expectation usually, and to not bring any, even though, you know, Maverick's off the board, sure, and he's your usual, well, at least Rin can do that. Hangs, dangles, and drops 2 across the open firefight, and now this Clash is exceptionally isolated.
And there comes a Monty, tries to go for the knives. Not much he can do in that case. Doesn't want to use the CCE shield because there's just no real point to do so, but in the meantime it's only up to Azzy as the one man with the actual gun available to him. Whilst the shield is going to keep on getting bashed here by the Monty. Support's coming in the meantime though. They managed to take the site, and Azzy, the last man standing, is going to have to go up against 4 men from DWG Gaming, who just bullied their Clash to sleep. Brings it back to a 1v3 at least.
That was very much a moment of like, come on, come on, let me kill you. Finally, DAMWON Kia, they're able to find themselves an opening round. Twice they've been able to get the diffuser down, but this time obviously they had a lot more control. They had a lot more of the pace in their pocket in favor, built upon the opening double kill of Rin. That sort of, you know, they were still just hanging on the backside there. They were making sure that they had the overwatch from the CCTV back. They had all of those eyes and they had the lockdown, but I'm curious if it was Talon that got a little bit overzealous, if they swang a bit too wide.
They might have done that indeed. You know, losing two people that early on from the open breach is not really that helpful, especially not with the amount of control they had inside of the garage. If they managed to play that a little bit better, might have been able to win that. But as I said, that site probably the weakest for the defense, considering the operators that are available. And as we're going back to the bottom floor, this is arguably the strongest site, because all they can really do is, well, open up all the hatches with all the hard breach utility they have available to themselves, and then only have one Selma left to try and make something else happen with it. Of course, we didn't really see that the last time around. We did see DAMWON Kia, of course, with only 2 members left, and then 1 member left at the end of the round when it was a 1v5. So never really get to test the setup to its fullest, due to the fact that Talon, of course, getting kills on runouts, getting kills on other peaks, didn't really allow them to test it. However, they did see it. They know what it's like, and they now might have made a plan to try and deal with it.
I think that's the main thing as well, is, as you said, it was a bit of a surprise for DAMWON Kia. They sort of came in and Talon struck quickly and then kept on striking, and suddenly they'd lost 2 bodies. They'd not been able to dismantle anybody from the top floors as well, and the sort of push in underneath was entirely isolated. They had the choice. They either had to try and push up a pretty challenging set of stairs, go for a major repositioning. Hey, we talked about those runouts around kitchen being dangerous before. Aziz makes sure that we're reminded, and you know, they bring some frag grenades, but they don't last very long.
No, definitely not. The Impact's, of course, used to open up that door very quickly with taking limited damage himself. And now Canis trying to fall back, spots out the head, but will not be able to hit it. Coated, not to pick up that kill. Will be able to bring it back to a 4-4. That is your Melusi gone. Could be a Nitro cell in pocket. You do no longer have to worry about. However, still Nitros available. Also, unreinforced hatches in both the bar and inside the stock. Those could easily be opened up with a sledge, which is unfortunately no longer on the board. So they will have to use Impacts of Sophia, or they need to use Heart Breach utility if they want to put pressure down from the... Oh, no way you're going to do this. It's so easily shot.
I think this, if anything, highlights a bit of a problem with this game, is the utility balance feels very peculiar. It feels a bit off kilter, and sure, you know, they're reaching some of their goals in the round that they were able to be successful. They're able to get Jacuzzi Wall out on the gym bedroom take, but otherwise it just still feels like there's this little mishmash. And they haven't quite worked out what their opponents are doing, so they're sort of trying to bring themselves something that drives. And here, talking of, Woogieman just drives his way all the way into behind the boxes, takes the first fight. Labyrinth has a bit of a pickup on the other side. There's a swing round onto blue. It's a 3 versus 2. There's a minute still on the board, and Woogieman is just going deeper and deeper, trying to offer some cover and some countenance so Coated can plant in a bit of security. There's a swing round, but there's DK with the lock off, and in the end, they just sort of crouched walking into sight.
Yeah, indeed, there was no information, no utility there to alarm Talon from the fact that DK was about to move in. No barbed wire, no cameras, no, well, angles even to spectate the entry, the door, from the man that was playing behind the bar. That brings us up to equal. 2-2. Now, if you see these bends, I'm not quite sure what the split should be in terms of rounds. I think a 3-3 would be very, very normal to see.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be surprised if the attackers get away with most of the rounds.
I think DK have had a little bit of an awakening now. I think DAMWON Kia have sort of looked at how those opening 2 rounds went and gone, okay, we need to be a little bit more direct. Again, it's still curiosities, but their operator balance is getting some... I think it's starting to pick up, and I think that's a good sign because... You know, I think they're trying to pull together what Talon are sort of doing and playing, and these 2 teams know each other well, but at the same time, when it's 2 teams that know each other well, sometimes you don't you know even less what to predict because people will start playing more out-of-pocket things.
Definitely do. So look at Cyclops.
I mean, yeah.
They only play out-of-pocket operators, especially in the attack, but not really the case here now. Looks like a pretty solid setup. Just a single heart breach, however, this time, rather than the two they had before. Also no heart breach gadgets available onto their side, and that means they will have to make do with the 2 exothermic charges that Coated has. Now, we've seen all the amount of runouts that happen, the amount of peaks that come through to try and slow them down and pick up the entries as well. If they do manage to get Coated, this is going to be a very, very problematic round if DK probably will get himself quite quickly safely onto the Jacuzzi and then wait for the Thatcher to get these AMPs in so they can start opening up, but they are very limited by the amount of heart breach they have.
And this is it. This is what we talked about before, where in the first 2 rounds from this very situation, Talon were able to punish DK and they sort of opened themselves up with that pace. But here, they can't quite do the same thing. DK have woken up a little bit. DAMWON Kia are more aware of the game that Talon want to play because, as I said, they can be a great team at controlling the space, but they seemed like they weren't entirely sure what was going on. And here, as they get that surety, as they get that solidity, and as they get a bit of a repetition, well, they're steadily improving.
And a friendly drone to manage to get there. At least they managed to open up onto the Jacuzzi wall. There is still a shield, however, all the way down the hallway. That might be providing a little bit of, well, issues, of problems. As soon as one of the Talon players will be able to dig himself behind it. Because a quick drone will be calling it out for now. That logistics should be safe, and so should the shield. But you see them worrying about it. Drone being tossed in right into the electrification of the wall. Not really helpful, but they do manage to take care of the shield with the RC Retiro, and that is going to be allowing them to move in a little bit further. Now, next one will be coming out. Is going to take care of the Banshee. I don't think there's any RTEs left. No RCs left, and that means that that wall will still stay in its current form, which is a jump through with a frost mat right underneath. So they need to make sure that they read that before they start and try and take it, because Labyrinth, if he plays close to the wall, again manages to stick it on top twice in a row now.
Go a little bit lower. Needs a little bit less strength. Let's see if they can get this back through. Bounced and want to try and hit it on the corner. Obviously, there goes the burn of ADSs, and there goes the destruction of the ADSs. Labyrinth goes and places another charge on the wall, but the grenade goes a little bit too deep. Sprayed, though. Picked up by Coated, who digs through.
Frostmat.
Quickly traded. The Frostmat, as called, onto Sang, takes the cake, and now as they try and flood their way back up, it's Aziz. He's given his position away, being very wide and far out, and that means that they can have a bit of an eye on it, but it is a technical 2 versus 2. This fight very important as they spray around the corner. Blind, almost, but not quite, but look at the time. They've got to try and get this stuck sooner rather than later, and Aziz wants to try and find his way back round. They've got the body out of the frost mat, but they've got maybe about 30 health between 2 of the players. So can Aziz make something happen here?
Himself not the healthiest himself either. Around 40. Just holding on for now, hoping that someone will decide to jump out of the window and wants to catch them off as a result. And, you know, maybe they use this as a bit of a tactical timeout. Talk about what they can do better for that final defensive round, because as long as you stay here on this angle, you're not going to be able to find much, especially not with the 7 seconds left now for Aziz to get on top of that a diffuser to counter, disable it. And that means that the round has been given up. Use it as a bit of a tactical timeout. Use it to quickly discuss what needs to go better. And then make sure that you end your health with a bang as well. And make sure you end it on a 3-3 split.
Well, there's another sort of take around here. 3 in a row for DAMWON Kia. Their attacks have definitely become a lot sharper. As I said, they seemed a bit lost, but now they are found. And what they've found is some solidity pushing against Talon's defense, which is still sort of wide. It's still a bit out there. It's still a little bit haphazard at points. If I'm going to talk about sort of the momentary questionable utility of Talon, I think DAMWON Kia is also sort of pushing themselves into this play. They're repeatedly trying a bandit trick, which you don't really see too much, and especially with Thatcher on the board, you're sort of putting yourself in a tricky situation there, because you have many elements to sort of try and fight against and try and battle against, and it's a tough one, Club, because holding on to these internal, like these very external walls, these positions, you cannot be as comfy playing against that jacuzzi wall.
No, definitely not. And the jacuzzi wall, of course, has the long angle that can all the way be gained from Jim as well to try and deny the player. Of course, you're having the opportunity to be challenged from the CCTV window, so it often requires a little bit of, well, control from that side at least. Make sure that no ping, no sweep comes in from that side. We see a very similar setup here from TALON, and we do this time see the... Oh no, we don't actually see the double heart breach. I was going to say, they 6-picked an ace for just a little while. They decided to go for the Capitao in the end. Of course, the incendiary bolts could be really useful in an area such as the bathroom if you want to get rid of the bandit playing inside there, because that is where Labyrinth has been hiding. Basically both the rounds they have played here so far. Soldier, whereas on the Valkyrie, needs to toss out these cameras sooner rather than later to make sure they will remain unspotted, and will be able to give away as much information as he possibly can. Gets two outside, one near the AC unit on the actual balcony of Highway, able to basically see everything to his left and right, and one tossed in a little bit further. Not quite sure if it hit the tree or if it, well, landed on the van behind it. This one is going to be giving you information on anybody on the roof, which we also saw a lot of kills come down onto by Punchels in the garage, for example.
Now they're playing the same sort of hold in the setup as they've done before. They have Labyrinth in a position to try and swing back, and well, with Yas being the first body that's down just outside the window, these cameras are still giving all the eyes and intel on where these bodies are. Soldier wants to try and strike and get the lock off on the kill here, and potentially wants to drop that Claymore. They know that it's there or not. Yas is otherwise able to just
now.
There we go.
It took him a while to get there, but managed to make it. Now the Nitro will be tossed out. Destroys their own Black Eye, though. Also managed to get the Claymore, which might be important later on if they want to go for a push here inside of the B-bomb side. The opening is there. There's still two frost mats inside the gym. There's still a bandit that is hiding himself inside of the bathroom, and then Black Eye that is giving away information if they start moving in. So that has to be the first part of utility they need to deal with. Next to that, the shield, and then as well, of course, the presence inside the bathroom may be there.
I do like that shield. It bought them a little bit more time. It put a little bit more pressure on. They've slightly moved where at least one or two of the frost mats are as well. They've restructured themselves to have a little bit more focus towards that gym. They expected the same sort of take from here, which DK are running. But it's how well DK can try and push past these slight adaptations. They are technically full strength if shaken up, but they still have all the bodies, they still have everything in pocket, and they still have concerns about a roam game that isn't being played as far away. Soldier and Yas trade, take each other's life as we hit that 30-second mark, and they've got to try and hit the ground running here if they can get in. Hops over, make sure they don't get caught as they did before. They've got themselves dug in the corner of the shower to offer some cross angles, swings wide, gets the first, but it's Canos on the back line, and Tomorrow is down too as Canos is quickly removed. They find themselves yet again a 3 versus 1 as East is on the far side, and well, he doesn't last very long. DK 4-2 on the split.
He did his best right there, but the Thermite just a bit too strong. Jumping in from the well, into the bathroom, able to pick up the kill onto the bandit, of course, and take care of some of that frost mat, helping the rest of the team and allowing himself to go for that plant. And DWG Kia, as a result, after well, 2-3 rounds, you know, into the half, we were like, all right, this could be a very good half for talent, but DWG Kia managed to adapt quite well to whatever was being brought, whatever was being set up, and they find themselves in the lead now. Going over to the defense, which I would normally say is more favored on this map, just ever so slightly. However, considering the fact, and yes, I'm going to say it, the Cade is banned, the Thatcher is open, and you have those two heart breaches of Thermite and Ace, it could just as well be a full round attacker game, whereas the bottom floor should be the hardest to take due to limited utility that you have. There is no opportunity to go for a Hibana, which can of course open up hatches with their with the 4x Kairos, having 18 in total, only needing to use 12, so it allows you to, you know, get 2 of your sets to be impact tricked out. And then you'd still have a full Thermite or a full Ace left that you could use for walls, etc. So, not the case now, of course not. Mentioned many times before this game, it's just the Thermite and it's just the Ace They need to make it happen together. And if they want to go for that top 4 first, they need to use some of that utility, leaving even littler or less available for a final execute.
Now, IQ on the board to try and get a bit of a handle on potentially those Valk cams and the other utility that is being put forward. It means that you might be able to get a bit of a cheeky angle through a lot of the soft before you have to start opening, but again, it's at the cost of the sledge roll. It's something where you'll sometimes see teams, because they require the sledge a little bit more, especially on a site as expected, like this one, where you've still got to drive yourself through. You still got to try and find your way across a lot of that floor, and the pickup there is instead they've bought 6 breaching charges. 6 charges to try and slam their way through the soft.
I think it was 9 actually. I think Canis also carried a couple, so there is definitely a lot of these breaching charges available nonetheless. And they do finally manage to open up into CCTV. That is one of those exothermics gone. There is still plenty of hard breach available, of course, and right now everybody on Talon droning out, trying to get some information as Rin is on a little bit of an adventure outside, trying to figure out where these Talon players are. They're all just still droning, all trying to find some information, see what's clear, what's not. And indeed, Canis also had the breaching charges available. So 9 in total. There are, you know, who needs a sledge when you have breaching charges?
Who needs a sledge? Bring 9 breaching charges.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can sort of run the IQ. And that was always this conversation that we've had with teams. You know, this is a region that's very talented with Valkyrie. This is a region that's very talented at sort of hiding utility. And there's always these moments where you'll be like, why aren't they bringing an IQ? And for a lot of people, it's because IQ just... she doesn't quite stack up. There's too much else you need to bring.
I really like that, by the way. You might not have seen it, but Aziz was quickly going through the drones, trying to find out which drone was next to his breaching charge. He's like, hey, please move your drone. I'm going to blow this up. Just to make sure that you have that drone available to you in a potential execute.
Friendly.
So you could just blow it up and go for the quick play, or you are going to be, you know, quickly taking 2-3 seconds trying to get the drone out of the way, just to make sure that you have it available if you need it later on.
Always need a good drone, and it gives you that communication that, you know, it shows that they're still calculating, they're still working. And DK at this moment in time, they're waiting for the pressure, they're expecting it, as you always do on this map. You expect where it's going to kind of come away from. But here, you got the comparison between how Talon, when they were sort of on their defenses, they were very aggressive. They'd already gone with these tall holds here especially, and we'd already seen a lot of death, but we're on 20 seconds left, and we only get our first kill now, and it's into the favor of DK, whose backline still hasn't really been tested. There's a lot left to do, and the pressure has to start coming around. Great repositioning. The other side of blue box pushes Soldier into a crossfire here between the two sides. You still have Woogieman and Dirt as well. You have somebody holding above on the stock hatch looking for the angle, and they save the life. There's the drop, and they get a double. Heck of a play there as they go on the back line, but a cold diffuser. And a lot of players still alive.
Yeah, definitely so. I believe it was 5 in total still alive, and the push from blue came in a little bit too late. The smoke literally moved into Motorcycle, dug himself in deep in the corner, and trying to hold off to that diffuser from there on successfully. So, as there was no much time left, then as we find ourselves in a 2-5 situation, it is DAMWON Kia that has the opportunity of pushing for a match point here right now. They do manage to win CCTV cache, which I think would be the hardest to attack, hardest to defend. They would put themselves up onto that match point. Not just 1, but 4 at that. And Talon will be very well aware. You see the Thatcher, you see the Ace, the Thermite, and of course the Zofia and the IQ. The IQ to counter out the Valkyrie, the 3 operators mentioned before to open up the breach. And the Zofia, of course, as it fills the role of the Ash nowadays, having 2 impacts and 2 concussions. And a great gun as well. At that, often really relies on taking care of those shields of utility pieces from below.
Perfectly in sync.
Again.
Not a little bit delayed that second time. The first one was...
Little bit, yeah.
Little bit. It was very good, though. It's always satisfying. Okay. DK, you've been able to drive yourself into good position. I think it was very late, the last echelons of that push from Talon. Granted, as we've said a few times, that basement is the slowest for attackers. There's a lot of work to do. Nice drop. And there's a lot that you still need to sort of put together, and they were taking their time. They weren't rushing about it. Katsang's going to put out that camera a little bit late there as they sort of, I think, made that call and didn't want them to see that that door was open on the split. There's the spot on the camera. That'll be an easy pickup, though. And then look at this. This is a much quicker bout of pressure from Talon.
Yeah, definitely so. Instantly opening up into the garage allows you to try and challenge the window so no one is going to be able to jump through. If you look at the setup as well on the mezzanines, you see that there's only been created head-sized holes, which, oh, Rin, be careful!
Oh.
Gets picked up by Soldier. Was still waiting around the corner. He's been trying to go and find the Claymore. This is why that Valkyrie camera was out there, just to provide an aid, a push like that, a run out like that. But as the Valkyrie camera got taken out, they had no information, and thus Zofia was still hidden. As I was trying to say, the hole that they made in the garage wall will be able to hold off the only rotate into the garage the defenders have, because it hasn't been created in the wall. It is just lines of sight they managed to make there. And that means that if someone wants to come in or come out, they need to jump through that window, which can be held through the hole that was created before.
It was a bit of a needless death, I think, from Rin there. They were sort of trying to see if there was a Claymore either side and potentially find a loose body, but that early, when you know that they're still going to be doing the step one, you generally know that that's going to be watched. Like, unless there's active pressure that's sort of coming through, unless they've got it open, that's where the danger is. Katsang is underneath, rotating up blue. This could be an easy strike, and it is. They take care of Soldier. There was the present coming down red, and they're able to put this pressure back in. There's the moment of the strike, and Yas is going to show how it's done this time round. Drops the Claymore and the Thermite too. The Diffuser catches both. And Yas is now going to try and find a fight on the way back up. Is able to get back into the rafters.
And with that, it managed to retake the man advantage. Rin, of course, dying to trying to achieve the same thing, and Yas, with the double kill, will be able to pick up tomorrow as well. 2v4, currently DK in the lead. Makes it even better there. The Nitro so gets tossed out from Katsang. It's only Azzy now coming up from blue into the garage storage, hoping to move into the garage itself. Spots out, Katsang manages to take him out and brings it back to a 1v3 situation. However, there is no drones available to be used to actively drone out. There is still one on the board, I believe, which could be watched, but as everybody is watching the IQ, probably it gives no valuable information whatsoever. And as the vertical hole created by the Zofia before is being challenged right now, there's another member on top of the red stairs that could be peeking down at any second now. And as the smoke canister gets tossed in, you force him to come forward. And Coated will be able to pick up the final kill. Aziz will drop, and that is going to be match point now for DAMWON Kia.
6-2, with 6 of those being in a row. I said it was a bit of a rocky start for DK, and they obviously agreed, and they made sure that it wasn't going to be that in the core of the game. They have a lot of opportunities to lock this one out, and arguably they have every site possible to do it on if they would like to. The options are there, but I have a feeling that they're wanting this to stay as a 7 return in a row. So, Gym Bedroom is where we're going to go. The swap of the Valk to the Maestro. I think they've realized with the IQ, they're not quite getting the bang for the buck with that Valk. And to be fair, I don't think it really took the IQ to spot where those cams were before. They were quick to drop them, and then they were able to get the first on the swing out, but the second was then able to get one, get two. So Yas was sort of just proving, well, they don't really need it, and let's force them to keep this IQ in their lineup.
Yeah, it is quite helpful if you want to take care of the Valkyrie cameras and you do not spot it out by a drone when it gets tossed out. Of course, not on the board now. Still be able to find new jammers, maybe from below. Maybe some of the ADSs, of course. Not that much of the other utility really to be taken care of by the scanner that IQ brings. The mute jammers are placed a little bit further back. Now, sometimes this does go wrong a little bit because the far edges of the corner could be breached. So I'm not quite sure if that's the case here. Of course, there's no Hibana to do it with, so they could use maybe the Ace for it. I think the exothermic is a bit too big for that to happen.
Okay, Talon, what can you bring here to try and find some of that sharpness? And that was almost it. Perfect start. Woogieman. He was caught on the window there, potentially swinging a bit wide and a bit bold, and suffered as the connection of Katnos on the roof was the man that was able to try and put the damage in and destruction. Logi hatch is open. They're eyeing up the jacuzzi side as well. They're going for the pressure here. Yas is on an adventure with the scope that won't be there much longer. So he's trying to get the full use of it.
Oh, there you have it. Katsang just swings in, and that is going to be Azzy taken care of. Trying to sneak in inside of the gym, but not be allowed to go really far. And that is going to be losing yourself your IQ. Of course, this round, not the most impactful operator. The gadget, not really the most useful one at this time. And the jump out there.
The Maestro jump out.
The Maestro jump out, just as you see every other day. It's Soldier, however, with the refrag, Rin will drop. Brings it back to a 4-on-4. It's a lot more doable in that case.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that you have the manpower to overflow the site. And that all starts with the bathroom and the gym around the same time. As long as the Maestro is in that same corner, though, you're probably not going to be able to get very far.
Well, Canos has been able to flood his way in, wants to get behind the gym equipment to see if they can offer the cover, but it's Katsang that lights up with the Alder. A great take on the main stairs, and Labyrinth is going to try and stick it in and amongst the muck and the mess. They're trying to find him. You're right next to him. Is to your left and can't quite get the lock off. There it is, suddenly. Just Tomorrow left, and they're out holding from a bit of safety and a bit of range. They still up against the Alder, and that's the danger right now. The pre-fire, the throw, and the rotation round behind the gym equipment gives them a little bit of a closer firefight, but he goes down, and that puts now Tomorrow in a tricky situation. Has the time to pick them up. One of them can try and take the fight. The other one is going to potentially try and long arm. Tomorrow has dug their way in. Woogie Man is going to hold it and stick it, and the spray comes round the back, wins against the Maestro. Woogie Man is off the diffuser, but he's also out of time unless he sticks and holds from this point on. All it takes now is Tomorrow to run round, pick up the pieces, and get the spray, and Talon get their third.
Managed to get away with it there. Smoke tried to pre-fire any potential planter on a bit too high of an angle. Of course, when he was in that smoke, a bit of a ninja planter came through. Fortunately, no ninja defuse right after, and that allows Talon to climb back at least a round into this matchup. 1 round for now. Still need 3 more to pick up a point. IQ being brought again. Valkyrie is being hovered over as well, but Katsang might 6-pick off of it again. So we're heading to Church Arsenal next. Of course, the rotation got completed. Not with the final win to complete it as a result, but it's getting resetted now. And the Echo will be brought in. The Maestro is being 6-picked out. That should be a bit more helpful in trying to stop any of these last-second plans to come through, as the Yokai, of course, will be able to deal with that. The Sonic Burst requires you to stay alive, though, as Boogeyman might dig himself in deep behind the bar inside of Club. Of course, below in the church, I believe it's called. I never got that it's called church, but apparently that is gang slang for
what?
Because it's like the church. It's not really a church, as in like religious. You know what I mean?
I've never thought about it. I assume there was just some sort of iconography in there.
So,
but at the same time, it is the meeting table, you know, so that's where the gang goes.
With a big throne at the
Ron Perlman's probably in there somewhere.
But so what I was told, but I'm not sure if this is correct. It's
it makes sense.
It's a word for the meeting room.
You know, I've never been in a biker gang.
Neither have I been.
Jess likely has, so she's probably our best guess.
Yeah,
she's the only one of us cool enough.
She'll break it down during the analyst desk. I'm sure of it. What the word exactly comes from. Either way, it is going to be DK trying to finish yet another of the match points they have. So they continue talking about it now. Now everybody's wondering.
Put it up there. All right, Talon. You've got 3 rounds to try and pull back, and now you've got to do it on what is, for a lot, the toughest site. The IQ's still on the board, which is good, because, as you said, the Echo, the Valk, that sort of doubling down now is something they really need to get a bit of a handle on. But my worry, my precious worry, is precious time, which was the burden before. They left themselves only 20 seconds to try and operate their push. They were very slow and steady, and they still had the church wall potentially to get through, or the quad wall if they wanted to try and find their way into the armory side. And DK had all the time in the world to sort of reformulate themselves. I think the round ended on time with still at least 5 players across the board alive. It's that solidity. It's that sort of confidence, that comfort that they're being afforded here. And Talon, they're droning their way down main stairs. They're trying to find where the intel is and get a bit of an idea of an impression. But if they don't start trying to make things happen sooner rather than later, they've still got to get both hatches open. They've still got to try and put their eyes towards the wall, and it worries you.
It definitely does, and there is a couple of impacts available, as you can see on Legion and Valkyrie, so they're really looking to potentially impact trick the Arsenal hatch, the kitchen hatch, which stays closed for now. Talon tries to find the gunfights elsewhere. Soldier trying to descend the stairs in blue, hoping to get in the generator room. But of course, there is a player right behind it that needs to be taken care of first. It's Rin. And then you have a couple of players inside church and one or two inside the arsenal. Selmas are going off, however. That is going to get Impact tricked out. There is going to be one just left, however. Creating a little bit of a hole that is going to be very dangerous for Yas to play behind.
I like the smoke canister that popped off to make sure that nobody could try and get a swing on the pressure at the on the side of Moto. At the same time, Canos has crept his way in towards pipe walls. He's looking for the fight and he finds it. That's coated, gone. That's that very powerful shotgun on Moto dropped. They're going to call that, and Labyrinth is now trying to apply the pressure as Aziz and Soldier this time. They've doubled up on the backside and it's led to success. Blue falls under their control, but Yas dug in, gets one, gets important and gets unfortunately dropped. It is just the Echo, and the Echo, well, they know where he is. He's going to take a gamble, but it's caught off. It was the EMP. He's spraying through. He's on the back line, but not for very long. That was the pace and the pressure that we wanted to see.
That was it. He was hiding inside the dirt because it was the least contested area at that moment in time, but he wanted to stop the diffuser from going down. However, unfortunately, the EMP managed to catch off the Yokai drone. That is something they did not probably keep in mind when they were like, you know, let's bring that Yokai in. Of course, as well, great kills coming down on Dakota. Very important. Had 2 smoke canisters left. Could have stalled them out for just a little bit longer. Of course, that shotgun as well. That is just so dangerous on the close range. And suddenly there's only 2 match points left here for DAMWON Kia. And yes, deciding to swap off to the Legion and go into the Bandit. You're still playing Church Arsenal. You're wondering, what will this be played for? Now, you could think that they maybe will be doing a little bit of an Bandit trick on the church wall, due to the fact that, of course, if you decide to put up the Bandit charges up onto the dirt tunnel, they're easily shot out from the drone hole, or just an EMP, and they will be opening it up either way. This allows them to, well, potentially stop that Selma that we just saw go off from being as impactful as it was.
So they've swapped off the Echo. They've brought themselves back onto the Maestro instead. And I think they've realized the Echo is just going to sort of be a victim of circumstance, because I know I've put a couple of question marks on the consistency of that IQ in the lineup when it's not, I think, fully being utilized towards what you would expect. It puts you in a situation where, sure, if it's your take and it's what you want to feel comfortable driving forward against this and your expectation, but when they've dropped intel and when they've got rid of electronics, it's usually just been, it's part of the confrontation, like it, as we saw there, it was thatched off, or they've spotted it because DK aren't being too subtle about it. And I guess here as well, it puts them in a situation now where if they are still trying to piece together things, if they're starting to pull things away, and whatever works, if you're going to bring 9 breaching charges and no sledge, bring 9 breaching charges and no sledge.
What you just saw is we're going to open up that small hole on the right top of the church wall, the church triple wall. And some of you might be thinking, all right, why? That is just purely because Yas has a C4 available to him. So we'll be trying to lob that over inside of the bottom of main, and you might be able to pick up a kill as a result of it. Especially if Azzy is going as quickly as it currently is. The intel should be coming out soon. Might have a Valkyrie camera available on it. Should have been spotted out, however, by the IQ if that's the case. And no impact. Oh, there he goes. He just flew in, wasn't able to get the kill, and Rin will drop on the other side.
I love how I was like, okay, we need to see a little bit more pace from Talon and a little bit more from the IQ. And Aziz was like, okay, cool. And tries to drive themselves in down main stairs. Is able to escape, bait out the C4, and obviously that's a huge blow to the utility now. And they've obviously also been able to remove Rin, who hasn't had the best game in terms of those sort of engagements. It's sort of that flip of the coin. I guess that's the risk of playing that aggressive, hyper-aggressive entry confrontation role, is it is a flip of the coin. You never really know if you're going to be the hero play or it's you kind of threw it away early. The 2-minute mark to lose your first body, that gives them so much more precedence to build the pressure now that they have the man advantage to go for those trades.
Now, I believe there's a second exothermic that has been used. I'm not quite sure how many Selmas have been used. Maybe 1, indeed, they have it. Still 2 left. Now, we still have Yas that is playing on the side, on the church wall with the bandits. And we'll be trying to trick out these Selmas if they get tossed in. There he comes. Canas about to toss in the first one. Looks like it might be in the middle wall if he decides to go for it. In the meantime, some pressure from above is coming in. Soldiers trying to put up some pressure from the blue side, trying to create some of these angles. The Boogeyman gets spotted out and needs to be very careful now to not be picked up.
Wow, that was a hyper-aggressive approach. They're able to cut off one. The spray comes around the corner. I said they used the smoke to stop that happening before. This time, they're just going to use Yas, who digs in, gets the double, 20 seconds, and everything explodes with the Alder on the backside. Canos has snuck in on the church wall. He's in between two bodies. He's finally spotted out and locked off with Yas on a triple, and DK find the final round they need.
It is so amazing to see how consistent Yas is, really. Every single time he continues to show up, and in this round as well, manages to, all right, you know what, let's go for the bandit. Plays on that spot where it went wrong the previous round. Of course, he played that before as well, but this time was able to shut down the whole push that came in from Motorcycle. Managed to pick up both those kills. Boogeyman followed that up with 2 inside of blue, and suddenly there was no push left for Talon to try and win the round with. And thus, it is going to be DAMWON Kia. They are the winners here today.